Hey YouTube, the police did find my assailant and they confirmed that he is indeed suffering from some kind of emotional condition. But what was pretty disturbing was the fact that they said I was lucky. You may have noticed in my videos that I have an interest in psychology and the human condition, and I'm sure it hasn't escaped you to wonder why people cling mindlessly to the hope of everlasting life in a theocratic dictatorship, no matter how many false promises, failed prophecies, infringement to human rights, and demands for free labour. The people inside the cult just can't seem to get the message that something is very, very wrong. On the other hand, I have different sorts of Christians contacting me and imploring me to come to Christ, to be forgiven of my sins and book my ticket to the holiday camp that is heaven. But I haven't the first clue what it actually means, and whether there's any reasonable reason to see it as a serious option. Let me explain my view. To me, there seems to be a fundamental difference between the emergent properties of faith and the unifying properties of emerging truth, and I'll explain this with compare and contrast. The Christian religion is approximately 2,000 years old, apparently starting with one man, Jesus, who made extraordinary claims back then, and one set of directives. It's a simple, unified start, yet as time passes, the versions of Jesus multiply. Some say he's God, some say he's the Son of God, and others a prophet, and with time the claims and dogmas proliferate like uncontrolled evolving viruses, all competing with the other and condemning the other to various eternal punishments and offering their own unique rewards. This leaves the honest examiner with the question, which Jesus do you go to, and why? From that simple unitary start 2,000 years ago, we have more than 38,000 Christian sects, each demanding to be called the truth. The witnesses do it, the Mormons do it, the Christian Brethren do it, and that's just the Christians. I was always told that Jehovah is not the father of confusion, but if you read the Bible, you can see that people are confused, even when he was supposed to be here on earth performing miracles and killing people. Clearly, the observation of faith in action, religious faith in action, is that with time you get more menu options, and even now more choices are emerging, with both an Australian and a Russian both claiming to be Jesus' second coming. And let's not forget the Mexican Jesus making lots of money in Las Vegas. So let's compare this to the observed properties of truth. 2,000 years ago, there were several guesses as to the nature of our planet. Some thought it was flat, some thought it rested on the back of a turtle, others that Atlas held it up, and that there was a firmament surrounding it, and that it sat on pillars, and many more. The nature of this was pluralistic, and you could make your choice, usually around the religious tradition of your family or area you lived in, and you could believe it as truth, and you would be praised for it. But this is the fundamental difference between truth and religion, because where there is truth, the many options become one established fact with time. Truth or fact emerges from chaos. The many options become one, and not the other way around. We've seen this inherent property of truth replayed many times, when you consider the numerous myths around thunder, rainbows, volcanoes, the sun, the weather, the variation in life, all being resolved into one accepted by the non-ignorant reality. Additionally, compare how the religious and the seekers of truth resolve their disagreements. Just like the Jehovah's Witness cult, the religious disseminate selected and dishonestly edited evidences, combined with a call to ignorance and fear and intellectual incuriosity. And when that fails, dogmatically the Sikh kills the Muslim, The Muslim fights the Jew, and he fights the Buddhist. And Christians, they kill everyone, even themselves. And we can see this with how passive Jehovah's Witnesses, how they can't wait to see the Christians that reject their bullshit being killed at Armageddon. In fact, they passively, aggressively glory in it. This is compared to the truth seeker, who compares and tests all available evidence, sifts out mistakes or tricks, and tentatively accepts truth after open-mindedly assessing the data and building consensus around an observable, rationally deducible, and repeatable observation. So how does this come to Christ, go to hell, be saved, Armageddon confusion relate to my initial statement? Do you know there is an instance where rats are smarter than people? B.F. Skinner, an influential behavioural psychologist in 1978, I think, built 2 mazes. One for rats, incentivised with cheese, and another large one built for people, baited with $50 bills. Apparently, the humans learnt their maze just a little quicker, but not hugely so. But the real difference was when the experiment came to the extinguishing part, when the incentives were removed. After about 3 unrewarded maze runs, the rats stopped putting themselves through the ordeal, knowing it to be a waste of time. But the humans never stopped running their maze, even when they knew they would be unrewarded, forever hopeful that someone left the $50 they wanted. The humans wouldn't learn, and the joke at the lab was that people were still breaking in to run the maze, just in case, for many years after. This is why the captive Jehovah's Witnesses can't leave. Even when they know there is no reward, they run the maze, just in case. Just as Blaise Pascal advised with his rhetorically disguised threat, Kalam in its definitional nonsense, and Lewis in his general incoherency. People seek comfort in these word games to justify the unjustifiable. Rats are simply more realistic. But what I find truly fascinating is when people leave the Jehovah's Witness maze in search of another, when surely they know it's just part of the confusion of the unreal. Real truth emerges to stand alone, no confusion. Faith, or pretending to know something you cannot, is simply not required.